Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome back to Easy Mathematics. We thank God for another opportunity to come to your doorsteps with a wonderful lesson that we began last week. Today, we want to look at making the variable the subject of a relation involving fraction. Sometimes, some relation that we are to make the subject may involve a fraction. And if that is the problem, how can you therefore make the subject, or how can you make the variable the subject? Now, if you are making a variable the subject, when or if the relation is a fraction, is to do that, we have to therefore know the least common multiple of the denominators in the equation or in the relation. Now, when you know the least common multiple of the denominators, you multiply each terms by the LCM that you are able to get. So one will ask, how will I know the number of terms in a relation? The number of terms in a relation is divided or is shown by the equal to sign, the addition sign, and the subtraction sign. So these three signs helps you to know the number of terms in a word, in a relation. So when you look at the first example, we have equal to sign, we have addition sign. So we have 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay, good. So if you are making a subject or you are making a variable the subject in a relation involving fraction, number one, find the LCM of the denominators. If you find the LCM of the denominators, multiply each term by the LCM. Then you further your simplification. Good. So let's look at the first example. Given that L is equal to 2r plus half pi r, make pi the subject. So this is the relation we have been given. L is equal to 2r plus half pi r. So we are making this variable the what? The subject. Now, since this is a fraction, now look at the denominators. You can see that the denominator for this is 1. The denominator for this is 1. But the denominator for this is 2. So we are going to say the LCM is 2. Now, since the LCM is 2, we must multiply each of the terms by the LCM. Once you are able to multiply each of the terms by LCM, you are going to get rid of the fraction. Okay? Once you get or you multiply both terms or all the terms by the LCM, you are getting rid of the what? Of the fraction to make the simplification simple. So here we have 1, 2, 3 terms. Multiply each terms by the LCM, which is 2. So we say 2 times L, which is 2L, is equal to 2 times 2R plus 2 times 1 over 2 pi r. Now, when you continue, this multiply will give you 2L as written. Then this will give you 4R. Now, the LCM that is multiplying the fraction, we know in basic 8 that this will cancel out, giving you plus pi r. So you can see that when 2 cancel out 2, you are left with 1. And 1 times 1 is 1, which the coefficient of xr is not written. So from here, what do? Now this will now take you to the making a variable the subject that we started last week. All you need to do is that once you get something like this, the term that you are making, the term that is having the variable you want to make the subject, let it stand alone. So looking at this equation, I am going to let the pi r stand alone. So therefore, the 4r should move to this side. So I have 2L minus 4R is equal to pi r. The question said make pi the subject. So I'm making this variable the subject. So now that the pi is alone with r, what do? The pi is multiplying r. So because the pi is multiplying r, or r is multiplying the pi, I will divide by r so that r will leave the pi alone to be at one side of the equation. So this will give me 2L minus 4R all over r, which is equal to pi. So pi being the subject will give you pi is equal to 2L minus 4R all over R. And now the pi is the subject. Why is it the subject? Because it is the variable I have solved for. Because it is the only variable at one side of the equation. So I've been able to make pi the subject. Good. Now let's look at the other example. Find k in terms of R, A, and B in the relation R is equal to 1 over 2 bracket of A plus B, K. Now, whenever a question is given like this, find k in terms of, or find an unknown in terms of any value, all it simply means, or what it means is that you are solving for k. You are making k the subject. We are going to let the k stand alone at one side of the equation. So sometimes it is not always they will say make k the subject in the relation, or in the relation make this the subject. In some questions they may say find k in terms of the other, which means solve for k to stand alone. Now look at the question. How many terms do we have in this question? Can we guess? Go. We have 2 terms. What are the terms? This and this. Because the plus here is in a bracket, you can't say this is a term on its own and this is a term on its own. No. All these are multiplying. And because they are multiplying, we have to classify them as one term. Okay? So a term is based on the sign you have, which are the addition, subtraction, and the equal to sign. Sorry. The equal to sign, the addition, and the subtraction sign. But the addition sign here, it is in a bracket. So since it is in a bracket, it means all these are multiplying. So you don't say you have terms within this sign. Good. So we have only 2 terms. Now what is your LCM? Your LCM is 2 because this is over 1. Now what do we do? What did we say we have to do? When you find the LCM, multiply each term by the LCM. We apologize for how we are presenting today. So we have 2 times R is equal to 2 times half bracket of A plus B, K. Okay? So this is a term. It is one term on its own. So you don't multiply this by 2 and go multiply by 2 again. No. Since they are all multiplying each other, then it is going to be classified as one term. Good. Now 2 times R will give us 2R. Then 2 will cancel out 2, giving you 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So we have 1 bracket of A plus B, K. And this will lead us to something that was treated last week or in our previous video, which the link will be posted in the description button. Now we were told that based on what we are making the subject is what we are going to pick. Okay? Now we are going to make K the subject from the question. The K is the variable we are solving for. But here, the K is being multiplied by this bracket, or this bracket is multiplying this K. Because they are multiplying the K, what do? We divide both sides. What you do at the right hand side, you do the same at the left hand side. So we divide 2R is equal to A plus B into bracket K, divide by A plus B. Then we also divide by A plus B. So this will cancel out. Now after cancelling, you have 2R all over bracket of A plus B is equal to K. So you can see that the K is alone. So we can just say therefore K is equal to 2R all over A plus B. And this is our answer. So the question that says find K in terms of R, A, and B simply is saying make K the subject. So in simple language, whenever you are making a variable the subject and the relation involves a fraction, find the LCM and multiply each of the terms in the relation by your LCM. So if the LCM is 3, multiply each by 3. No matter or the value the LCM is, just multiply by 3. Now let's look at the next one. Now you have the relation 1 over n is equal to 1 over n. It says make m the subject. Now I need my LCM. What is my LCM? Now anytime in a relation you have variables as the denominator, anytime in an equation you have variables as the denominator and you need the LCM, just multiply all the variables. Okay, just multiply all the variables. So the denominator here is m, and the denominator n, and the denominator here is m. So if I want the LCM, then I'll multiply m times n, or n times m, which will give me mn. So my LCM is mn. Remember, in any relation involving fractions and the denominators are variables, the denominators are alphabets, they are letters. To find the LCM, multiply the denominators, and whatever you get becomes the LCM. So now that I have the LCM, what do? I am going to multiply each term by the LCM. And how many terms do I have? I have 1 term, 2 terms. So multiply each of the term by the LCM. So the LCM is mn multiplying 1 over n, which is equal to LCM multiplying 1 over n. Now because mn is multiplying 1 over n, this n will cancel this n, and m times 1 is m, because any number times 1 is the number, which is equal to, m will also cancel m. So if m cancels m, what are you left with? 1 times n, which is n. So making m the subject is m is equal to n. As simple as that. So therefore, we have been able to make m the subject, which also n is also the word, the subject. Good. So in any relation involving fractions and you want to make a variable the subject, but the denominators of the fractions happens to be variables, just multiply all the variables. Once you multiply all the variables, then you get your LCM. Let's look at the last but one question for the day. It says, if 1 over f is equal to 1 over v plus 1 over u, express u in terms of f and v. Express u in terms of v. What it means is that make u the subject, let u stand alone. So I have the relation 1 over f is equal to 1 over v plus 1 over u. I'm making L the subject, but u the subject, sorry. But this relation, it involves fraction. What do I have to do? I need to first find my LCM. First thing I must do, find my LCM. And because the denominators are variables, I will just have to multiply all the denominators. So if you multiply f times v times u, you are going to get fuv. FUV because anytime you multiply variables, our answer must be arranged alphabetically. So F comes before U and U comes before V. So UV. So that is it. So you just have to multiply your denominators. Why am I multiplying? Because they are variables and I can't get exact value as my LCM. So now that I have my LCM, I'll multiply each of the terms by the LCM. So one term, another term. So I'm going to say FUV times 1 over F is equal to is equal to the LCM times the term. So FUV times 1 over V plus FUV times 1 over U. So the LCM is multiplying each of the terms. You can see that. Now the moment you carry out with the multiplication, there is cancellation that can be done. We can do some cancellation. So further the cancellation. What are the cancellation? F can cancel F. So if F cancels F, you are left with UV times 1, which will give you UV. Because any number times 1 is the number. Now this is equal to FUV times 1 over V. And also the V will cancel out the V. And what are you left with? You are left with FU. Then you have plus FUV times 1 over U. So also the U will cancel out. Then you have FV. So plus FV. So you have seen that after multiplying the terms by the LCM, we have been able to get rid of the fraction. So I now have UV is equal to FU plus FV. But what am I doing? The person said I should express U in terms of the remaining variables. Simply make U the subject. Now, last time we said that when you are making a variable the subject, and you notice that you have the variable in different or in more than one terms, just group all the terms with the variable at one side of the equation. So I'm making U the subject, but U is here, U is also here. So since U is in this term and U is also in this term, then I'll let all the terms with U be at one side of the equation. So this is going to be UV, then the FU will have to join. But because the FU is positive and is crossing, it becomes negative FU, which is equal to FV. Now, in this term, U is here, U is here. And we introduce something called factorization. That is, bring out the U from each term. The moment you factor the U out, we introduce a bracket. Now, this is UV, and you've brought the U out. We are left with what? V. Minus. This is FU, and you've brought the U out. You are left with what? V. Then, F. Then you close your bracket. Now, this is equal to FV. Now, from this, what do you say? The U is multiplying a bracket. So if the U is multiplying the bracket, and I don't need the bracket, I will divide because it is multiplying. So I'm going to say U bracket of V minus F is equal to FV. Divide the left hand side by V minus F, and also divide the right hand side by U minus F. So you see they cancel out. Then finally, U is equal to FV all over bracket of v minus f. And now you have been able to express u in terms of f and v. That is, you have been able to make u the subject. And once you are able to make u the subject, then it means you have expressed u in terms of f, v. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers, I will quickly go over. I said if you are making a variable the subject and the relation involves fraction, you need to find your LCM and you multiply each of the terms of the relation or each of the terms in the relation by your LCM. Then you continue as it has been given. I'll urge all basic 9 candidates to be solving more questions on change of subjects. We have a lot that can, you see, based on the same idea, relation involving fraction, but you need to wrap your brain in order to get the answer. So when it comes to relation involving involving fractions, you need to find your LCM, multiply each term by the LCM, which has been explained in these few examples. Let's look at the last one for the day, which of course is just like the one we did, but the variables are different. Now here he's saying make R1 the subject of the relation. So look at the relation. 1 over R is equal to 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. Now my question, which I'm expecting an answer to be written at the comment section, is looking at the relation 1 over R is equal to 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. Looking at this relation, is R the subject? This is the question I want any viewer who is able to watch, which I believe you have been watching, and God bless you for that, should give an answer to this question. That is R in this question, is R the subject? If yes, explain, and if no, tell us why. So that is the question I'll throw to you to tell us if R is the subject. Now the person itself is saying that I should make R1 the subject. Now before I even concentrate on the R1, the relation is fraction. So I have to get rid of the fraction by looking or finding my LCM. And what is my LCM? The denominators are variables, so multiply. R times R1 times R2 in order is your LCM. So R, R1, R2 will be your LCM. Now that you have the LCM, multiply each of the terms by your LCM. So R, R1, R2 times 1 over R, which is the first term, is equal to R, R1, R2 times 1 over R1, which is the second term, plus R, R1, R2 times 1 over R2, which is the last term. So the R will cancel out the R, the R1 will cancel out the R1, R2 will cancel out the R2. So now, what are we left with? We are left with R1, R2 times 1, which is R1, R2, is equal to R2 times 1 is R2, then plus R1 times 1 is R1. What are we making the subject? We are making R1 the subject. Make R1 the subject. Okay? So R1 is here. R1 is also here. What do? We group all terms with the variable we are making the subject at one side of the word, of the equation. And the grouping should be done in such a way that the calculation will be easy for you yourself. We can choose to group it here. We can also choose to group it here. But the grouping should be done in such a way that you, the one solving, will solve it at ease. So I want to bring this 10, which is having R1, to this side of the equation. So I'm going to say R1, R2. This is plus R1. Now when it crosses the equal to sign, we know it becomes what? R1, which is equal to R2. Okay. So now you can see that the 10 and this 10, they are all having R1. What do? You factorize. Factorization is a topic on its own, which we will explain, or we'll talk about it before we go write our final exams for 2024 BC. So if I factor R1 out, I'm left with R2. Remember, the moment you bring out the common term, introduce a bracket. So since I've brought out the R, I'll introduce a bracket. So R1 is out, I'm left with R2. Minus R1 is also out, I'm left with what? R. Then you close your bracket. Now this is equal to R2. Because I want the R1 to stand alone and there's a bracket attached to it, detach the bracket by dividing both sides of the equation by what you don't need. I don't need the bracket, so I'll divide both sides by the bracket. So the bracket will cancel out, and you can see that R1 is now alone. So my answer is R1 is equal to R2 all over R2 minus R. And that gives you your answer. This brings us to the end of today's lesson, that is finding or making a variable the subject in a relation involving fraction. I'll urge you all to try more examples. Okay? Don't limit yourself to what you have. Try getting more examples to solve. When we meet next time, we are still on change of subject, and we'll look at relations that involves the square roots and the square. How to also make them or make a variable the subject. When we are able to come across all this, then we will now look at change and how to substitute involving change of what? Of subject. So the next time that we meet, we'll come to you with relations involving square root and square. Remember, if a relation involves a fraction and we are making a variable the subject, number one, you need to find your LCM. Number two, multiply each of the terms in the relation by the LCM. Then you continue with your calculation, just as it has been done for us today. Thank you for staying tuned. Don't forget to hit the subscription button, share, and please sponsor this program by the little or what you want to do for this program to also be advertised. The name is Christian Manko. See you next time. Bye bye.